Good morning and welcome back to another cracker day on the farm, and what actually could be the last day that you guys get to see the farm, because the title is correct. It is finally time for me to move into this van. I've been building it now for over 5 months, which is, to be honest, a little bit longer than I'd planned. But that's not even what I'm most excited about today. Today is going to be more of an update of what's going on, and by far the biggest news in my life of what's going on is that Ocky, my dog and my best mate, is finally back in Australia. And just a little bit of a background for those of you that didn't see the last episode, I thought Ocky was going to be flying in within a few days of that episode, and a lot of you would have seen that literally within an hour after putting that video up, I found out that on the Canada end they screwed up the health checks. It cost me an extra 2 weeks of getting things organised for Ocky. His flight got delayed by those 2 weeks, and it's really been a bit of an emotional roller coaster since then, to be honest, because we had to do a lot to get things back on track so he could fly even now. But all of that is kind of behind me because he's in the country. He's in the quarantine facility. I'll explain a lot more about that. Ever since I put the stories up on Instagram about Ocky's kind of process and the flight and everything, I've been getting so many questions that I thought it would be a really good opportunity to answer some of those today. Before I get into those though, I'll show you a little bit of what I've been doing to get the van ready. It is so close to being fully livable. Okay, let's start at the front of the van and work our way back. First big thing I did, and really important one to have in the van, is I have the fridge door finished and it is now fully operational. It locks in that end position, or you can bring it, slide back and forth, and I just do that when I'm in the van. Just do that with my foot. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. And then the fridge is all good to go. It has been running for a couple of weeks, and it is crazy how efficient this thing is. It is using almost no power. It's blowing my mind actually, considering it's got a freezer as well. Okay, next I put in this drawer, which is the final drawer. I think it's like the 12th drawer of the van, but it is going to be my kind of horizontal food pantry. It's really deep. It actually goes another 20 centimeters back there. And onto the bathroom. I've done a few little things, like I changed this hose over to the rubber one so it stopped banging. I have my surf hook, that's for my wetsuits, so they hang in there and dry. That's why you can see I've still got all the sand in the bottom. The toilet is fully installed now, fully working. I did my first poop in it last week after a surf. Have to say, very nice, very comfortable, and doesn't smell at all, which, I've heard that was the case, but it's nice to have that confirmed, seeing how it is inside the van. Now, moving down the line, a lot of people will be happy about this. Remember this line that people didn't like because they were out of whack? Yep, I fixed it. One of my favorite spaces in the van is now operational. So it's kind of hard to see this close, but I have a couple of surfboards in the cupboard. This is where I hang my wetsuit when it's dry. And so they are secured in with the Ocky strap. They can't go anywhere. Now, everyone loved the tiles last week. I now have running water. And in terms of plumbing, super basic. So I've just got the drainage pipe going out to the grey water. I haven't hooked up the hot yet just because I need the fitting for that. But then the cold is all hooked up, ready to go. Now, I did some jerry rigging for this light switch to be able to put my dimmer on it. I popped out one of the normal switches and glued this in place. So now the dimmer works on there, and that works perfectly. And I have finally installed a little bit of mood lighting. So these are really nice warm white LED strips. When it's at night and you just want that little bit of ambient lighting, it's going to be perfect just to have one of those on. It also really highlights the tiles, and on this side where it's going to highlight, I actually have a plan for what is going to be hanging there, and I can't wait to show that off. Now, at this point, some of you might be thinking it's going to be pretty hard to move into the van when my couch and bed setup isn't complete. you're not wrong there. However, I have ordered the cushions. They're actually currently getting upholstered. They were supposed to be done 2 days ago. However, they made a mistake. So they're redoing it and I'm picking those up, I think, in 2 days. So that's when, yeah, I'm going to be moving in as soon as they're in. In terms of the actual table and the table leg, I'm going with the Lagoon table leg, which is the same as what we had in the last van. And I'm just waiting to install that till I have the cushions, because that'll really allow me to position it to the exact height and everything that I want it. I also added this Sirocco fan. These things are amazing. I've got a few friends with them. Once again, they use hardly any power and they're just really directional. You know, you can kind of turn this around, have it flowing any way you want. So I'm actually thinking about putting another one of those on the other side, but really that'll be nice because we can just point it, you know, I can point it straight at me or straight at Ocky, probably straight at Ocky, to help him cool down. And with the other 2 fans, it's really going to help circulate the air in the van here. Yesterday, I tackled this back section and I think the trim came up really nice. I'm loving how that looked. And what I added over here was some USB ports, car cigarette socket, and also down here a power point, so that way, you know, I can use tools or anything out the back here, have really good access. And my reasoning for putting those ports and everything there was because that way when I have the slide out table out and sitting at the table, you know, you can charge your phone or your computer or whatever. You've got access to all of that stuff. And that's pretty much it. I did install a safe in the van. Let me show you where that is. Actually, no, I'm not going to show you where the safe is. I've learned from lessons from friends. Smart idea for anyone that is living in their van. Have somewhere secure. And yeah, that's enough on that. I wanted to quickly touch on the areas that aren't done and why they're not, because I think some people will be confused about that. Probably by far the biggest one is this. So my passenger seat area, a lot of people have said, aren't you going to have a walkthrough? And in short, yeah, I am going to have a walkthrough. I wanted to initially try and keep a double seat and have it on a swivel, but with the Iveco, it's just not possible. So I have a seat in mind that I'm going to be getting. It's a single, but it can fully recline, so it'll be really good for Ocky to lie on, and it'll allow that walk space through, and it will swivel, which is really going to open up a whole nother living area in the van. However, it is up in Brisbane and I'm going to be road tripping north as soon as Victoria opens, so I figure I'm just going to organise that all then. But the area all around the seats, like this area up here, this area down the side, it obviously all looks still super raw, and that's because I'm waiting for that seat to be in place before I trim all that and make it look nice, because I'm going to be doing it around the seat and I need to know those dimensions. Otherwise, it's just actually the trim on the side walls here and the back doors. Those I just haven't gotten around to. I'm still kind of figuring out the best way to do it because I want to still have access to the door mechanisms. I've kind of learned from the past that if you cover everything up permanently, then Murphy's Law is that's where there's going to be an issue and you're going to have to get to it. So I figure those things don't really stop it being livable in the van, and yeah, I can tackle that down the line. Now, a few people have been asking about the tap. They thought that it was a bit too close to the tiles and that it could hit when the van rattles and is driving. It doesn't hit at all, so rest at ease there. I've tested it out, it's fine. And that is it with the van. I am just going to quickly jump onto a couple of Ocky questions, and as I said, it's really just to kind of get you guys up to date and ready for Ocky's arrival and adventures after Ocky is with me, because that is really where my head's already at. So, Ocky questions that I've been getting a lot. I'll answer kind of the top 3. How is he? First of all, that's by far the most important one, and by all reports, he did really well on the flight and at the quarantine facility. To be honest, the quarantine facility have given me almost no information. All that I got was that he had arrived. The pet travel agent, he prepared me that that's all they would tell me. Apparently with them, I don't know why they can't give you more information. Obviously you're really concerned about your dog, but they've got a lot there, I guess. And he told me essentially with them, no news is good news. If your dog was sick or unwell at all, that's when you'd be the first they'd contact. However, if your dog's healthy, they just don't contact you for a few days. It is the weekend here at the moment. First thing tomorrow, I'm going to be giving him a call and double checking, trying to get some information Ocky. If I do get any update on his health or anything, I'll put it up on my Instagram as an update for you guys. Question number 2 was about quarantine. Some people were unsure about why he has to be quarantined at all. Quite a few people, a surprising amount of people, thought he had to be quarantined because of COVID or corona, and that's not the case. Every dog or pet or animal coming into Australia has to have a mandatory quarantine. It's all about biosecurity. Because we're an island and Australia's been lucky enough to keep out a lot of really bad diseases like rabies and things like that, then they're obviously pretty strict about maintaining that. So the quarantine is for the dog to go there, get monitored, has a lot of vet checks, and make sure that it's not carrying any diseases before it's let into the general population in Australia. So the quarantine period is 10 days. That is actually really good. It used to be a minimum of a month, and before that it was up to 6 months. So 10 days, you know, I'm thinking isn't too bad. And finally, how much is this all costing? It's definitely costing a lot. The price actually ended up going up because of COVID and lack of availability of flights. It was all up, including all the vet checks and everything with the process of getting him here. It's cost almost 10,000 Australian dollars, which I think is about 50 US dollars. No, which I think's, you know, close to around 7,000 US dollars. A bit more. And to be honest, it is a hell of a lot. They charge a lot for everything. However, I'd kind of, you know, I'd pay anything to get Ocky back, and it's definitely stung, but yeah, what else could I do? I had to get him back. Yeah, it's been a bit tough and a long, drawn out, expensive process, but I'm just so happy to have Ocky back. And with that expense, it leads me on, I want to say a huge thank you to Surfshark, who's sponsoring this video update, because they heard that I was going to be copping it pretty bad and they wanted to help me out a bit. So if you've come across from the Max and Lee channel, or even if you've spent a little bit of time on youtube.com, then you've probably heard of Surfshark before. It's a virtual private network, and the way it works is it works like an app that can work across all of your devices, and it's something that I leave on mine every day. I just leave it running, and part of that is because I didn't realize how many things were blocked when you're in Australia. I kind of only realized once I got overseas. What it does is it encrypts all of your data. So any data you send out into the internet, it encrypts so it's unreadable by hackers or big businesses or anyone else that wants to steal your data, essentially. My favorite feature of it, when it's not to do with security, is the fact that you can change your server location. So your internet essentially thinks that it's somewhere else in the world. This is really important if there's something online that you want access to that your country doesn't give you access to. For example, every Netflix has a different library in each different country, and I found the US Netflix is good for some things, but for others I go to the UK Netflix or even Canadian Netflix for some things. So there's plenty of really good reasons to use it. Security is obviously probably the most important one, but I like it more for the others on day-to-day use. If you're interested in upping your online security game, I'm going to put a link to Surfshark in the top of the video description. Use the promo code Ocky and that will give you a ridiculous deal. I think at the moment it is 83% off plus an extra 3 months free. And remember that you can cancel in the first 30 days if for any reason you're not happy. I've used this platform for over 2 years and I'm super stoked with it. I know a lot of you guys have already signed up with it before. If you haven't, now could be a really good time. And so once again, a huge thank you to Surfshark for being the first sponsor on the Max and Ocky channel. I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank all of you for watching and being part of this crazy adventure. And finally, the biggest thanks actually has to go to Lee. Without Lee, I would not have been able to get Ocky home. It would have been an absolute nightmare with him stuck over in Canada when he wasn't in loving care. So thanks so much, Lee. She took him to so many vet checks, grooming appointments, made sure he's fed, but yeah, most importantly, made sure he was really loved. And that also extends to Lee's family, who took great care of him. So thanks again. I'm going to start packing. I've got a lot to do in the next week. And next time I'll be seeing you, it's for the reunion video. Have a great week, guys. Look after each other, and I'll see you then. Bye.